Hi, friends. It's Deanna Willison with Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm back with another science book. You know, I love doing science on Wednesdays, so this is more of a book review. Last week, we looked at Darwin's Black Box, which talks about evolution from a biochemistry standpoint, looking at all the hard science. How about Pope Benedict XVI? What did he look at? This is interesting. It was oh my god, it's the 2006 Eukaryotes. Okay, we'll find out what that word is. Conference. It's a conference with Pope Benedict XVI in Castle Gandolfo. The foreword is by Christoph Cardinal Schönberg. It is published by Ignatius Press. Let's go ahead and read something here from the back. This is from Pope Benedict XVI. It says, ultimately, it comes down to the alternative. What came first? Creative reason, the creator spirit who makes all things and gives them growth, or unreason, which lacking any meaning, strangely enough, brings forth a mathematically ordered cosmos, as well as man and his reason. The latter, however, would then be nothing more than a chance result of evolution, and thus, in the end, equally meaningless. As Christians, we say, I believe in God the Father, the creator of heaven and earth. I believe in the creator spirit. We believe that at the beginning of everything is the eternal word with reason and not unreason. How about Stephen Barr? He is a professor of theoretical physics at the University of Delaware and the author of Modern Physics and Ancient Faith. At a time when evolution is the subject of so many bitter polemics, it is refreshing to see theologians and scientists come together to engage in respectful, informed, and thoughtful discussion of it. There's also a review by Michael Behe. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Creation and evolution is an extraordinary opportunity for the public to listen in on the conversation as some of the greatest minds in the Catholic Church, theologians, philosophers, scientists, and Pope Benedict himself, wrestle with one of the most thorny and far-reaching of topics. Participants clash repeatedly over what we really know about the forces that shaped life on Earth, over what is data and what is hype, over what certain scenarios might mean even if they were true. I recommend to anyone who wants to know where we might have come from and where we might be headed. Okay, again, it's by Ignatius Press. What does the book look like without the jacket? I always want to know. I don't know. I got this in hardback. It's just a really classic looking book. Nothing else on there. I'm going to take that book jacket off. It can be a little tricky to do a book review with it on there. It does say the contributors. So Professor Peter Schuster teaches at the Institute for Theoretical Chemistry at the University of Vienna. Robert Speyman is a professor emeritus from Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich. Professor Paul Erbig, S.J., teaches at the College of Philosophy, Hochschule für Philosophie, Munich, pardon all my pronunciation, and Christoph Cardinal Schönberg, the Archbishop of Vienna, is the author of the best-selling book Chance or Purpose. There's a bunch of titles here as well from Ignatius Press, and it's on the book jacket, so I'll hold that up for you. I hope that's showing up correctly for you. It does say here, in 2005, the Archbishop of Vienna, Cardinal Schönberg, wrote a guest editorial in the New York Times that sparked a worldwide debate about creation and evolution. Pope Benedict XVI instructed the cardinal to study more closely the debate between evolutionism and creationism, and asked the yearly gathering of his former students to address these questions. Even after Joseph Ratzinger became Pope Benedict XVI, he has continued to maintain close contact with the circle of his former students. The study circle meets once a year with Pope Benedict XVI for a conference. Many of these former students have gone on to become acclaimed scholars, professors, and writers, as well as high-ranking church prelates. This book documents the proceedings of a remarkable conference on the topic of creation and evolution, hosted by Pope Benedict XVI in 2006 at the Papal Summer Residence, Castle Gandolfo. This book includes papers that were presented from the fields of natural science, philosophy, and theology, and records the subsequent discussion in which Pope Benedict XVI himself participated. Okay, well, let's look in here. was translated by Michael J. Miller, again by Ignatius Press, and it was copyrighted in 2007, both in Rome and in Germany, it looks like. 2008 by Ignatius Press, San Francisco, and by Libera Editrice Vaticana, Rome. So I think the English edition was 2008. Printed in the United States of America. So table of contents. Sorry, I'm saying the word so a lot today. I apologize. Table of contents is pretty straightforward. Again, they don't have the ... dots taking you over to the page number, but this is going to be a bookmark book. You're going to want to work your way from the front to the back. The foreword is, again, by Christoph Cardinal Schönborn. Presentations are, first is Peter Schuster's Evolution and Design, a review of the state of the art and the theory of evolution. Pardon me a second here. Robert Speyman, Common Descent in Intelligent Design. Father Paul Erbig, S.J., has The Problem of Creation and Evolution. And Christoph Cardinal Schönborn has Fides Ratio Scientia, the debate about evolution. There's a discussion. The appendix is Belief in Creation and the Theory of Evolution, Distinction and Point of Intersection by Siegfried Wedenhofer. Then there's a biographical and bibliographical notes. The foreword does start with a quote from the sermon of Pope Benedict XVI at the Mass for the inauguration of his pontificate. We are not some casual and meaningless product of evolution. Each of us is the result of a thought of God. Each of us is willed. Each of us is loved. Each of us is necessary. It's so interesting because so many people thought that Pope Benedict XVI was so stern and so rigid. And part of his sermon for his inauguration as Pope just talks about how each of us is willed. Each of us is loved. Each of us is necessary. How beautiful. You can see here that there are footnotes, and the page number, at least on the first page, is in the bottom center. Does it continue there? Yes, that pagination continues throughout. I am seeing there are actually color diagrams in the book. Lovely. Whew. We did read a little bit because we read about the book. We read the book jacket, so we don't need to read all of the introduction. I will show you how the quotes are done. So this is the regular text. This is a quote. It does appear to possibly be in a slightly smaller font. It does appear to be indented. You can see this entire page is actually still a quote. Whew. That is from the 1986 symposium. Like, goodness. It is quite a lengthy quote. It's really setting up this whole conference, so then the whole book. Several pages quoting there. And I do think that's important. Ooh. Over here we have, I'm on page 17. It just draws you straight in. In a very prominent forum for intellectual discussion at the Sorbonne in Paris, Cardinal Ratzinger gave a talk on November 27, 1999, which to my knowledge is the most detailed opinion about our theme that he has penned. Therefore, it should be cited here also in extensio. In other words, it's going to be a long one, folks. The separation of physics from metaphysics achieved by Christian thinking is being steadily canceled. Everything is to become physics again. The theory of evolution has increasingly emerged as the way to make metaphysics disappear, to make the hypothesis of God, Laplace, superfluous, and to formulate a strictly scientific explanation of the world. A comprehensive theory of evolution intended to explain the whole of reality has become a kind of first philosophy which represents, as it were, the true foundation of an enlightened understanding of the world. Any attempt to involve any basic elements other than those worked out within the terms of such a positive theory, there's a lot of small quotes around things. Any attempt at metaphysics necessarily appears as a regression from enlightenment, as abandoning the universal claims of science. Thus, the Christian idea of God is necessarily regarded as unscientific. There is no longer any theologica physica. Then it has it in Greek. That corresponds to it. In this view, the doctrine of evolution is the only theologica naturalis, and that knows of no God, either a creator in the Christian or Jewish or Islamic sense, or a world soul or a moving spirit in the Stoic sense. One could, at any rate, regard the whole world as a mere appearance and nothingness as the true reality, and thus justify some forms of mystical religion which are at least not in direct competition with enlightenment. Has the last word been spoken? Have Christianity and reason permanently parted company? There is at any rate no getting around the dispute about the extent of the claims of the doctrine of evolution as a fundamental philosophy, and about the exclusive validity of the positive method as the sole indicator of systemic knowledge and of rationality. This dispute, therefore, has to be approached objectively and with a willingness to listen by both sides, something that has hitherto been undertaken only to a limited extent. Oh my goodness, friends. This is a serious book. I'm understanding it fine. If not, at least you know what you're getting in for. I know I've read it before, but it just draws you back in. It's like, ooh, tell me more. Because when I looked at this before, I hadn't been teaching chemistry as long. I hadn't been studying metaphysics at all. And so maybe I hadn't even studied algebra as much. I'm seeing the plus and minus square root of a number. Some of these things just didn't jump out at me before in the way they are now. I definitely think this is something I need to revisit. I'll show you here. There are some of the charts. So there are a number of charts and graphs in here. What's another one? This is a schematic structure and classes of chemical building blocks of nucleic proteins and acids. This one's done in color. I'm sorry, you're going to have to get the book to see it. There's the processing of genetic information in cells, cellular metabolism from a molecular biology perspective, categories of mutations, point mutation, insertion, and deletion, reconstruction of genealogical trees of biological evolution from molecular data. There is computer simulation of an optimization according to the Darwinian mechanism. These are kind of odd because you have to hold the book this way to read the diagram, but this way to read the notes at the bottom. So that's a little tricky, but a model for macroevolutionary steps. I think I talked about this. I don't know if it was in this book or the other one about macro and microevolution became terms at some point. Let's just jump in here. I'm on page 109. It says the discussion recorded here followed the lectures that were presented to the Eukaryotes on September 1st and repeated on September 2nd in the presence of Pope Benedict XVI. The subheadings note which lecture served as a basis for each part of the discussion. Oh, we must be in the discussion section of the book. So I'm on page, we just the beginning of the discussion. So I'm on page 109. September 1st, morning, lecture by Peter Schuster, Evolution and Design. See pages 27 to 60. Oh, so that's great. It tells you right away whose lecture it was, what pages in this book are, so you can go back and review them if you like. It's set up. It's truly a discussion. You see the dialogue. How interesting is that? That's not a format I normally see. So Theo, I'm just going to say the first names just to save myself. Theo, both of my questions concern chance. First, has the concept of chance been sufficiently well defined in biology and the natural sciences? And second, can a distinction be made between subjective and objective chance? Vincent, in your second point, you talk about probability and chance. Don't scientists nowadays avoid the term necessity and speak only about probability? Ludwig, is evolution a simple, gradual path that can be explained, or were there also inexplicable leaps? How, for example, did primordial cells manage to undertake a division of labor, specialization, and cooperation? Did this lead immediately to the Eukaryotes in a two-stage process, or were there many wrong turns and misfires in between? Peter, I would like to begin with the last question. The difference between the I can never say this word. The Eukaryotes and the prokaryotes does not fall within my field of specialization. Nevertheless, I think I can say something about it. There are several ideas about the development of the eukaryotes through endosymbiosis. If you're a former student of mine, you're probably laughing. I've never been able to pronounce these words. What is certain is that over a long period of time, there was a global environmental change in the Earth's atmosphere that was connected with the fact that free oxygen became a component of the air. Oxygen is absolutely poisonous for all the organisms that populated the Earth before this phase, basically various forms of bacteria, as it is for our cells too. It would destroy our cells, but evidently a species of bacteria developed that was able to deal with oxygen, and that species made its way into our cells in the form of our mitochondria. This was one of the most important prerequisites for living organisms. If they are exposed to free atmospheric oxygen, they must be also capable of dealing with it. If you're a nerd, you're geeking out over it. I've taught biology and natural history a number of times since I last read this book, and so it's totally drawing me in. I just want to sit here and read it to you cover to cover. Of course, I don't think Ignatius would be super thrilled with that, so we'll leave it be, but I am going to invite you to jump in. What a nice beach read for a rainy day. My goodness. Now, I'd read it on the beach. I won't lie. And it has the non-shiny paper. It's a matte, like, recycled paper, so it'd probably be good to read on the beach. Nerd beach reading. Which is kind of cool, too, because you're talking about the primordial oceans in the beginning of life. So, great atmosphere for doing it. Even better if you happen to be by a swamp, I suppose. But I don't know. I haven't read the book in quite some time. Oh, my goodness, friends. I hope you enjoy that little peek in. If you have any questions about these books, remember, I tend to watch the live streams, and as well, I have the books. So ask me a question in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Sometimes people ask really complex questions, and if I haven't answered you yet, I am working on them. If you're just making a rude comment, God bless you. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the good Lord bless you. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.